It is time, ladies and gentlemen, to embark on a most excellent adventure. And hopefully, it's totally not bogus. That's right, we're going to give our review of Bill and Ted Face the Music next here in the Poindexter Lounge. What's up, nerd family? Welcome once again to the Poindexter Lounge. My name is Enosh, aka Enosh Fett, along with the lovely
Tiff-tastic.
and of course
Isaac Wan Kenobi.
And today, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about Bill and Ted. But before we get into that, first of all, if this is your first time to the lounge, just know that the Poindexter Lounge is
a place for nerds.
That's right. It's a place where you and me and my whole crew can get together and talk about the things that we love. Things like TV shows, movies, games, sci-fi, fantasy, comic books, superheroes. Are Bill and Ted superheroes?
They are to me.
In their own mind, I guess. And so much more. And if those are things that get your blood flowing, if those are the things that get you up in the morning and make you want to write the song that unites the entire universe in peace and harmony.
And space and time.
Yes. Then make sure that you hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell. That notification? I'm leaving it in. The notification bell so that you know when we put out new videos, because we're constantly putting out new content for you guys. That's right. We do a lot of fun stuff here around the channel. We do live streams. We do movie reviews. We do TV show reviews. We do watch parties. We do a call-in show where you guys can call in and talk about whatever you want. And we do a lot more here. Even on top of that, toy reviews, a lot of different stuff. And so we want you to be here for that. So if you're into nerd stuff, if you're into pop culture, this is the place for you. So hit that subscribe button and hey, give us a thumbs up so that YouTube knows that you like what we're doing and might share it with somebody else. And speaking of sharing it, share the video. Share the video with somebody that you know likes this stuff, all right? So that they can come be a part of it as well. We are almost to 10,000 subscribers. I can't believe it. It is upon us. We are almost to 10,000 subscribers, folks, and you can help us get there.
10K any day?
I know. You can help us get there. And so so don't put it off. If you're not subscribed right now, don't put it off till the end of the video or whatever. Just take our word for it. You're going to like the video. And go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. So all that being said, we're going to jump right in, and we're going to talk about Bill and Ted and give you our review of Bill and Ted Face the Music, right? So here's the thing. I have wanted to see this movie come out for...
Since the last one ended.
Yeah, well, since the last one ended, I mean, beyond that, like, I loved the first two Bill and Ted movies. Yes. I remember discovering them as a teenager and just absolutely loving those movies and thinking that they were hilarious. And, you know, I'd forgotten about all the Bill and Ted goodness and some of the not so goodness that was out there. I mean, we had a cartoon that lasted a couple of seasons,
which I loved because I loved George Carlin's character as Rufus, and so to see him in the cartoon version was fun.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, so the first season actually had Keanu Reeves, Alex Winter, and George Carlin voicing their characters. The second season did not, because it actually got sold to Fox, and Fox, they had plans for a live action TV series, which they did put out. And in doing so, for the second season, they tried to cut costs on it. And so what did they do? They
voice acting.
They went ahead and used the guys who were in the show, the live action show. They used their voices for the cartoon. And both shows were called Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. So you had two shows on pretty much almost the same time called Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures. So that's funny. But I remember just like, and I kind of like the live action show. I'll be honest with you. I know a lot of people, I've seen a lot of videos this last couple days talking about it, obviously with Bill and Ted being back, that people, talk about it, that it was bad or whatever. I actually thought that the guys who were in the show did a pretty good job of being Bill and Ted, especially the guy who had to be Ted, because he actually really mimicked
he had good mannerisms and
Keanu Reeves pretty well.
But you also liked when Freddie from Elm Street had his own show too, just because.
Freddy's Nightmares, man. Yeah. Freddy's I mean, like I'm at an age right now where I guess I've just kind of come to terms with the fact that if I like something, no one else is going to like that thing. And if I don't like something, everyone else is going to like it. And if I'm just kind of middle of the road, just kind of meh, everybody else will laud it with praise and talk about how amazing it is. So I'm okay with that now. But like I said, 5 years ago, now see, so I've wanted this for so long, and this has been kind of in development hell forever. And Alex Winter has definitely been very vocal about wanting to do a third entry.
The first Comic-Con we went to, we got to meet him, and the first thing you asked him is, when is it coming out? And he still kind of shrugged his shoulders then.
Yeah, I mean, he was like, I'm working on it, we're working on it, they were trying to get the script together at that point. And
but
really
seeing
trying
how
to
this
work
movie turned out, I'm glad that it took the time that it did, because I loved it.
Yeah, and so I'm glad that I got to meet Alex Winter. I think that's kind of cool. So, but it goes to show you that like him and Keanu Reeves really were friends. I mean, they were involved in a lot of stuff together. They
can tell it was a passion project.
Yeah, and that this was something that they really wanted to do, because Keanu Reeves. We talked about it when we did the trailer reaction. Keanu Reeves didn't have to do this movie. There's nothing about this movie that Keanu Reeves had to do it. No. He just wanted to.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool.
And you can even tell that in the announcement video that both of them made together is like just how excited both of them were to announce it.
Yes. Yeah. So we're going to jump right in. First of all, if you have not seen Bill and Ted Face the Music, you're probably going to hear some spoilers for the movie. So if you have not seen it yet, you may want to come back to this video and after you have seen it.
And I want to see it a couple more times because I liked it.
Yeah. So we start out with our characters. We're not gonna go like frame for frame, but I mean, to set it up, I mean, basically we come in, 30 years later. Bill and Ted they've had a musical career. One of the things that I liked about this was it actually showed that they did learn how to play their instruments, right? I mean, that was at the end of the last one. They went ahead and they learned how to play.
They stay with their princesses.
And I gotta say something. Like, I know that song at in the at the wedding and stuff, like that everybody was like looking at it weird. That was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool.
Like,
it wasn't the right venue. But it was very cool for what they did.
Well, I thought it was weird because, like, it had rhythm to it and everything. Like, I could have danced to that. I didn't understand, like, why they were playing it off like you couldn't dance to it, because you could definitely dance to it. Yeah. But I thought it was cool that they brought Missy back.
Yes. And Ted's dad was an original that was back, too.
And Ted's dad, they brought him back. So I thought
and
that
Death.
was cool. And Death. Well, yeah. We'll get to Death in a minute, but I thought it was funny the way that they explained Missy.
Yes.
That basically Missy had
married everyone in that family.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
And the dad was still depressed over it.
And that they brought back the original actress. They had struggled because they had not written the song yet.
T-Night.
And trying to figure out what that song is going to be. They're feeling the pressure of it. Now, Tiffany, what did you think of their daughters?
I think that they did a great job. I like the actresses that they chose. I like the stuff that they do. And I think that with the kind of upbringing that they had with Bill and Ted as their dads, and it seems like they kind of had, like, the princesses, even when they went into marriage counseling, they were talking as, we love the princess. It's not like I love you. It's like they've seen this like communal thing like their entire life. So these two girls were kind of raised as sisters to each other.
Because even whenever they see them, they call them dads instead of dad.
And so that, because of that, it really kind of, they had the relationship that Bill and Ted had. I actually really liked how they chose them. And I thought it was funny is Bill and Ted kept going ahead to try to find what they needed, and the girls kept going back in history, which is what Isaac brought up.
Yeah.
So I thought.
So what did you think, Isaac? I mean, you've seen the other Bill and Ted movies. We have exposed you guys to the classics, as it were. I mean, what do you think of Bill and Ted, first of all? I mean, what did you think of the original series?
I really like both of them that we saw, because it's like there's still a lot of stuff that we quote just like every day. Like we'll just like randomly say something, or like even the last trailer, just like I don't know where all of us just did the
most non-heinous.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I didn't watch those before, I wouldn't have been as excited for when these came out. Mm-hmm. Or if you guys would like just introduced it to us like not long ago, I wouldn't have been as excited for this one. But since you did a while ago, I was like super excited. I was like, oh yeah, it came out today. So I definitely loved this one, and I also like got some of the callbacks here and there.
Sure. Now, what did you think overall of the new one?
I really liked it. on top of what you said about the daughters, it's like I also like how they had like the music knowledge also, as you see like they're jamming out together, listening to music in the garage, and like, oh, is it this song? And the other daughter goes, oh no, it's this one from this album, this song, this.
Yeah.
Kind of like how we are with Enosh being in a band. It's like we know. Oh, what song are you talking about? Is it the one that he wrote? You know, so it's that same concept.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to be said about being a musician, playing in a band, and probably being in a family that does that.
And also, just the comedy was still like really funny in this movie. As we'll talk about later in the review, I know is one of my favorite characters was Dennis.
Yeah.
My
name is Dennis Caleb McCoy.
Yeah.
He ended up being one of my favorite characters at the end of the movie.
And who plays him, I was like...
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny when it needed to be funny, and it was very funny when it was. And then, like, you saw those serious parts where it was like, okay, this is why we love this series.
Yeah.
And Isaac said, he's a remorseful robot. And I was like, also the name of a band.
That'd be an awesome name for a band, Remorseful Robot. It's not that I don't like the daughters, because I think that the daughters were a good addition to it. I don't know how I feel yet, and I gotta watch it again because I don't know how I feel upon my first viewing of them basically kind of taking the. And I told you, I called it. Yeah. I called it.
Yeah, you did.
As soon as we got to the movie, I said, they keep saying their last names. They're not saying their first names. They're saying Logan and Preston.
Referring to them.
And I said, oh man, like I have this feeling that they're gonna pass it off to the daughters. Which look, I know that I haven't watched a lot of people's reviews yet, but my first guess would be that there's going to be all kinds of people upset because some feminist agenda turn it over. I didn't feel it that way. No. I guess for me,
Bill and Ted even saw it as their next generation kind of.
Yeah, and I get it because of that, and I'm fine with that, and that's pretty much a regular trope anyways in some of these movies.
They were trying to help and save their dads,
but. As a longtime fan, I guess what it does is it like it took the focus off of Bill and Ted for a minute, which I'm not actually mad about even because I think that if they just all of a sudden wrote the song, well, it kind of takes all the tension away that had been there for so long. Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay, well, they just wrote the song and you're done. So it's got to have like a little bit of a twist to it. It's got to have like a little bit of a thing to it.
And technically, George Carlin Rufus wasn't wrong because he was trying to save everything. It was still that family line, all of that.
But there's still part of me that was like, but it's Bill and Ted's song. It's like, you can't take it away from Bill and Ted.
It technically came from Bill and Ted. It came from their loins.
It did. Well, that's what I said. That's what I said when I said, watch. The daughters are going to have something to do with writing the song, and because Bill and Ted made it. So I will say this: nostalgia plays a huge role in how you view things, because I'll be honest with you. And when we give our final thoughts about this, I'll probably have a little bit more to say, but there's something about those first two movies. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That is just, and I think it's a problem that we face.
It's part of our age.
I think it's a problem that we face like with a lot of these franchises that have been around now forever. That Hollywood is not giving us film franchises to be excited about in the future. They are not giving us characters that we will still be holding on to 20, 30 years from now.
Like Back to the Future, Indiana Jones, Bill and Ted.
We grew up at a specific time where we had things like Star Wars and these 80s movies.
Just like my dad raised me on classic rock music, we've raised our kids on our nostalgia movies, which has gotten them.
So they identify more with our nostalgia for stuff. Like you said, like we showed you those movies when you were younger, so you had that built up for, even though it wasn't the 30 years that we had, you still have had
at least 5 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we showed you that movie. Man, it's been about 8 years since we first showed you Bill and Ted. So,
but he's in high school going like this in the hallway.
That's what I'm saying. But see, like that's why I challenge. Like Hollywood really needs to step up their game. They need to stop just remaking stuff. Need to stop just remaking stuff and start making stuff. But that's a whole other argument. That's a whole other video, is just talking about the fact that Hollywood just seems bankrupt of ideas, and the ideas that do come up, like if it doesn't hit what a lot of people forget is like a lot of these movies that are now cult classics and things that people look back on fondly, they weren't necessarily huge box office hits. They weren't the things that were just dominating the box office. They were just things that people remembered because those were the VHS tapes that their parents had laying around, or they would go to the video store and rent that or something.
We don't want you to redo Back to the Future. We want you to redo what that brought to us.
Yeah.
Same with Indiana Jones. Same with those ones that are just ingrained into us. We want that feeling. We want those storylines. We want that to pull us in, not redo them.
Yeah. What did you guys think of? I like the fact that they did keep on with the trope of Bill and Ted meeting themselves. Like
Yes.
I thought that was funny.
I
different
love
us's.
that. The different versions of them. And that had to be so much fun for them, though, too, because, I mean, they even did, like, the old version of them rocking out in their room.
They brought back the fact that Ted always thinks that the other him is a jerk. Right? Like, because like in the first one, they were talking about it's like that other you is a
And I also like how each version, like the future version of themselves, was different. It's like the first version of them was like rude. The second version tricked them. The third version was like really strong and like.
Yeah,
well,
and
they
was
were
going
in
to take
jail,
over.
They were in jail because of what this version did, and it's like it was a domino effect of, oh, dang.
Yeah.
What did you think of Keanu Reeves' look in this movie?
Yeah.
That is something that you and I talked about, and
We kept pointing out in the movie.
I don't know if it had anything to do with the makeup that he wore,
Yeah.
his age, if he's had any surgery done. I love
All
him
the
no matter
above.
what. Yeah, it could be a little bit of everything, but we were saying that, and we don't know if it was the lighting on set or what it was, but
Or it just happened to be the angle every single time.
yeah, because,
Every single shot we got of Keanu was
because
on
every
the bad
shot
side.
that he had, it's like they still had, he still had that hair in his face and everything like that, and it's like he never grew up. He just changed his clothes, kind of thing. But because of that, like right here, like it looked like he had cheek implants, and we said that, he doesn't look as old in John Wick. But in John Wick, he has the hair in his face covering it.
Very
He's got the
slick back.
beard.
Yeah.
He's got cuts on his face, which would cover
I felt like
that.
they should have let him keep a beard. I think he's just
Well,
aged
the
now into
future
somebody
us
who
is-
looks better with a beard.
The future
I
us
look better
is-
with a beard.
The future us is when he had facial hair, when he was the big buff one and he had the full beard, he looked
looks
10
fine.
years younger.
Even in 2022 when you just had that little
that
bit
little
right here.
Fu Manchu.
Just something, just made him
Even
look better.
as the oldest him, with the gray beard,
He looked better.
still looked younger.
Yeah, he looked better. I love how they brought Dave Grohl into that. That was a hilarious scene.
And they were trying to take Dave Grohl's music. We've seen movies like Star Wars where, the actors or actresses have passed on and they try to animate them. Or I was like, please
Or like
please
in
don't do that.
Ghostbusters, how it was like you just got the bust.
The bust of Egon.
Yeah,
So
which
I
is
was
really
like,
nice, but it's like you never.
yeah.
It wasn't like, hey, here's an homage to him. It was just more of like, hey, if you caught it, you caught it.
Yeah, and it was just a little like Easter egg kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So for this one, when they stepped out and they saw, and you got a vision of the old phone booth, and you could see him in there, and you're like, wait a minute, what? And you saw that it was actually a hologram. And then the door opens and he talks, and it was an actual thing of him from his original movie. That made me tear up watching that movie as they're watching, because it was like, it was them paying homage to him, like, hey, I'm not here anymore, but he still believes in uniting, and that Bill and Ted are the reason, and this is the
He
whole
always believed
reason I
him.
went. And that's why I thought it was awesome when the end happened, how the mom, after being as cranky as she was, she hugged her daughter and she's like, your dad would be proud of you.
Even Bill and Ted, Ted's dad,
Finally believed him.
Finally believed him. Finally saw what
Which is funny because in the beginning of the movie, he's like, "You did not go back in time." Yes, we did.
Yeah.
You did not. Your wives are not from the 1400s. Yes, they are.
Well, that was the funny thing that was a nice callback.
Yes.
Where like they all go to hell.
I just wish
And,
they would have played like a game of Twister, or played a game or something. To
Well,
get
that
out.
was the thing. Was like they just were able to leave hell.
Like,
Like
good night,
they
Battleship.
should have had to play a game.
At least Battleship.
At least something.
Even if it's just like even hopscotch because Death was playing that by himself.
And he was cheating. We were laughing so hard at Dennis, at the robot.
Oh yeah, so let's talk about that.
Because he would sit there and it's like he looks menacing. He kind of reminded me of like Robot Death because it was so white with the menacing eyes.
That's what
but
I
it's like
looked at
he'd
him
go
as.
like this and he'd shoot them and then he'd be like, oh, like you could
Yeah.
know he was a robot, but you could see his mannerisms. Were like, I'm so sorry.
The first time after he killed the dad, he looks around. He's like, and then he just like disappears.
Yeah.
And then when he sends the daughters and the group that they made, then he's like, ah, dang it. Like he feels like bad.
Even though that was his job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why we said remorseful death robot.
Yeah, and then when he confronts Bill and Ted, it's like he's like, "Oh, you have the song, so I can't kill you because you have the song."
Yeah.
And so then they break the song, and then he tries to shoot himself. So Bill and Ted grab onto him.
Yeah.
And then when they do make it to hell, he's like, "My name is Dennis. My name is Dennis Caleb McCoy." So I was thinking too is if they're going ahead to find the song and the daughters are trying to help them, so they're going back in time like their dads did to get, instead of getting historical figures.
I wish they would have gotten more people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that.
But they got people like Jimi Hendrix, and they got.
Yeah.
I just thought that was cool.
It would have been. To me, it would have been cooler if they would have gotten like a lot of people.
You got Jimi Hendrix and Beethoven playing the same song. That was awesome.
But like to show that like it took everybody to kind of make the song. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like it seemed like because
they could have gone like different genres, different eras.
Yeah, because they really only got like 3 people. They got Jimi Hendrix, they got Beethoven, and then they got Louis Armstrong, right? And so there's really only 3.
And the guy that played him sounded just like him.
That was fantastic.
Loved that.
But it doesn't seem like that really covers.
And then they got the girl plays the flute.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, they did go
then,
back and get people like who weren't popular musicians, from like the dawn
but
of
showing
time
that
and
it
stuff
took
like that.
every I mean, because they started at Jimi Hendrix, and instead of going forward, they went back further, like to the 1200s.
Yeah.
So they're trying to show that Bill and Ted went to the future and got all this. They went back, and it took all of time. All that. So I thought that was actually kind of cool.
My biggest complaint is, and it's nothing that can be done about it, is the fact that we didn't get to go see it in a theater.
Yeah.
I think I have wanted to see Bill and Ted 3 so bad in a theater for so long, and I said this actually when we were talking about it, and I've said this on other streams and stuff, is that it's unfortunate that this happened the way that it did.
And when it did.
And when it did, because man, I would have loved to have seen more people talking about this, seen it out there in the vernacular, and it has made me happy to see people doing their own reviews and stuff like that, and things like that, and I love that. But man, it would have been so great to be able to just take the family, go to see Bill and Ted 3. It would have felt more like it was Bill and Ted 3 instead of like having to watch it on video on demand. Almost made it feel like it was a direct to DVD type of movie. You got to stay till the end of the movie.
Oh yes.
You don't turn it off. I love the stinger at the end, which was really funny to see them just as old guys jamming out. So I have yet, out of everyone who's reviewed it that I've seen, I have yet to see anybody who says they didn't like it.
Yeah, because there's nothing not to like. I mean, there's a little bit of everything in it.
Yeah. Tiffany, on a scale of 1 to 10, just give us your final words on it, and what would you give this film?
I would give this a 9.5 out of 10.
Ooh, that's high.
It is, because I liked it. There was a couple little things, but this was one of those things that I waited a long time, and to me it was worth the wait. Not that I wanted to wait any longer, but it's, to me, what they ended up going through, writing and going back and forth, and when we've just, come on, just give us the movie. I like what they did. I like the daughters. I like the storyline. I love them going in the future. I love the daughters going in the past. The wives even looked around, because they were frustrated with, the husbands. It's like everything all came full circle at the end with everything. They paid homage to Rufus being gone in real life. Yeah, there was a lot of good stuff in there. They did a really good, so to me, there's a couple little things, but it wasn't the end of the world for me, so I give it a 9.5 out of 10. Isaac, I'm really interested to hear what you have to say, because you're the most fresh to the original. Yeah,
I'd say probably more of like an 8.5. Is because it's like there was some stuff where it's like, obviously, like we said earlier, it's like some stuff was like nostalgia driven in this movie, and then some things were like, because of the pace of the movie, it's like some things where it's like, okay, that kind of seemed like too quick.
We gotta hurry up and get this in.
Yeah, like after the second time they visit the future us's, they're like, oh yeah, we should do something that like none of us will remember. And it's like then they do it like right away. It's like they didn't really like think of it, but it's like the movie was also an hour and a half, so they were kind of limited to that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I kind of wish it was a little bit longer, but the movies were never really long. They were usually like hour and a half movies. But other than that, I really liked it. I laughed a lot. You really liked Dennis. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of parts where I laughed, and there's a lot of parts where I really enjoyed the movie.
So I agree. Like, I felt like the story kind of jumped around a little bit. Yeah. Where, like you said, it was weird because it felt like it got like much quicker into it, like much further into it than where we were. And so like it felt like it was like breakneck speed at first.
One version of them had English accents.
Yeah, it just felt like it was breakneck speed at first, and then like it slowed way down all of a sudden to allow for like the last part of the movie, you know. Yeah. So I gotta say that this is one of the issues that I see with the fact that Hollywood wants to bring back these movies. I'm not saying that I don't want them to, because I've wanted Bill and Ted 3 for a long time. But that being said, that's one of the problems with bringing back movies from 30 years ago, that you're never going to hit all the expectations that people have of it. We've seen it with Star Wars. We've seen it with other movies and stuff that we get sequels to that you didn't think you were going to get a sequel to, and then all of a sudden you get it, and it's like, yeah, okay.
Or ones that you want that they won't bring back.
I gotta say, I did enjoy this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I thought it was fun. I don't know if it was the production of it, but it reminded me more of a TV type of movie.
Yeah, I can see that.
It didn't have the look and feel, like you could tell it was all shot on sets. It didn't look like it was really shot like on location, like in real locations. It really looked like it was shot on closed sets for a lot of, which is fine. But I remember looking at the old movies, like even the set stuff looked big and huge when they were in heaven and hell and everything. And you know, the CGI looked fine.
The grandma chasing them for a kiss.
Yeah, you know, the CGI looked fine and everything, but it just, and maybe it's also something to be said for not doing it on film, so the look of the movie is different than, you know, I know everybody, you know, loves you know, the new digital age and everything like that, but there's a lot to be said when you do an old movie like this. You're gonna lose the look and the feel of it by shooting it digital if it was shot on film. Yeah. You know, and so maybe there's something there to be said for, hey, if you're gonna bring back an old property, look, people shoot stuff on film still, and it has that look to it, has that bigger scope and things, and it just has that movie look to it. Where like when you shoot things digitally, it doesn't necessarily have that movie.
Pretty much the only time that you feel like it has the movie look is when you're invested in it, like the Marvel and DC movies. It's like you're invested in those, so you see those as movies. Yeah, compared to like Bill and Ted, how it's like, yes, you're invested into it, but it's because it also had that look to it.
It's the same reason why I don't really care for those like curved TVs. Like it looks cool, but like when it looks like it's too real, then it loses that thing for me. It you know.
Sorry, it just sounds funny to
me.
I'm
but I mean,
sorry, my TV looks too real.
No, I mean, no. We were just. So I'll give you an example. So if we were just like out in Las Vegas. We went over to a friend's house, and his son was watching Transformers. Right. Yeah. They had such a nice TV that if I watched Transformers even on our TV or at the movie theater, it looked like the Transformers were actually in part of the movie. Yeah. Watching it on his
Age of Extinction on this TV, and it looked really good.
Yeah, watching it though on his TV, that TV was so nice, it almost looked like the Transformers were digitally put in over the live action stuff. Yeah. You know, does that make sense what I'm saying?
Which you said it kind of looked like a video game cutscene sometimes.
Yes, it didn't look like a film. It looked more like you just kind of cut and paste these things in there that were kind of interacting with everybody. Those are my only kind of gripes about it.
What would you give it?
If you gotta hold my feet to the fire, I get it. It's not perfect. It's not perfect, but I have to realize that it wasn't going to be perfect, and I don't even know what I expected a Bill and Ted movie to be. Just off my initial viewing, I'm going back and forth between a 7.5 and an 8. That it's still really good, like more on the 8 side, just because I think that it was a lot of fun. It was great to see these characters again. It was awesome to see these characters again. But I often I'm looking at it wondering, okay, how much of my excitement is nostalgia and how good is the movie? And so that's what almost reels me back to a 7.5. But I'm more kind of like in that 7.75. I don't like to do those kind of cuts.
I like the
on my
beefy
scores.
jail them.
Oh, I love beefy jail them. That was awesome.
He actually had a tattoo that said excellent on his chest.
Yeah. So if you give it a 9.5 and you gave it an 8.5, and I'm at about 7.5 to 8, so we're about between an 8.5 and about an 8.5.
Most non-heinous.
That's most non-heinous. That's right. You got to be excellent to each other. So let us know what you guys thought of it down in the comment section. And also, don't forget that anybody who is a Patreon supporter, thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. Anyone who is a Patreon supporter or gives any super chats or anything by any other means, which you can find all down in the descriptions below. If you do that, then you are automatically entered for a chance to win this month's giveaway, which is Batman Forever's The Riddler pop vinyl figure. And so if you're going to want to be...
Cool.
Yeah, we're coming up on September, so we're going to be giving that figure away here pretty soon. So if you're wanting to be in on that, don't forget that. Also, I'm excited because memberships are going to be coming up pretty soon. So look for that pretty soon here on the channel. Lots of great things happening here on the channel. And I'm so glad that you guys are here and a part of that. All right. Well, folks, thank you for watching the movie with me.
Oh, it was fun. I'm going to watch it again.
Yes, I miss having you guys on the couch and talking about stuff together with you guys. And I think that everybody else is excited to have you here as well. All right, guys, until next time, my name is Enosh, a.k.a. Enosh Vet, along with the lovely
Tiptastic.
and, of course,
Isaac Wan Kenobi.
saying stay nerdy, be excellent to each other, and, don't just keep messing stuff up by trying to cheat and go into the future and change everything, and
Quit stealing from future us's.
stop stealing from your future us. Just try to write the song and get everybody involved. All right, guys. Until next time. Bye-bye.